All right, let's dive into one of the coolest ideas in AI. Teaching a machine to do something really complex, not by writing millions of lines of code, but just by having it watch an expert. So how on earth would that actually work in the real world?
To really wrap our heads around this, let's tackle a huge, real-world problem. How do you teach a car to handle the absolute chaos of a busy highway? Well, the answer might be a lot simpler than you think. It really just starts with watching people like you and me.
And this is the whole idea behind what we call imitation learning. You start with this big pile of data, these demonstrations, from an expert, in our case, really good human drivers. The AI's job is to look at all that data and figure out a policy, basically a set of rules, that lets it drive just as well as the person it's copying.
Okay, so where do you even start? Well, the most obvious first step is also the most direct one. But, as we're about to see, it has a really dangerous flaw hidden inside. This first shot at it is called behavioral cloning, and it's pretty straightforward. You're basically treating it like a standard machine learning problem. For every situation a human driver sees, you record what they did, steering wheel angle, how hard they hit the gas. Then you train the AI to just copy that. It tries to make its action as close to the experts as possible. Simple enough, right?
Well, here's where reality throws a wrench in the works. Picture a car on a highway. In the exact same spot, one fantastic driver might decide to just keep going straight, but another, maybe they see an opening in a faster lane, decides to merge left. Both are totally valid, totally correct actions for that situation.
And that leads to a really important question. If you're just training an AI to copy the single correct action, but your data is telling it there are two different correct answers, what does it do?
And here is the absolutely wild part. The AI doesn't pick one of the good options. It averages them. It literally predicts an action that's halfway between going straight and merging left.
This is what's known as the multimodality problem. Your data has multiple modes, or peaks, one for go straight, another for merge left. A simple model that just tries to find the average ends up picking a spot right in the middle, an action that never ever happens in the real data. It's straddling the lane, which, isn't just wrong, it's incredibly dangerous.
So, okay, clearly, predicting one single average action is a fatal flaw. We need a much smarter way to do this, a method that can understand and see all the good choices, not just their weird mathematical middle ground.
So, instead of trying to learn one single answer, the better approach is to learn the entire distribution of good actions. The AI learns that, yeah, going straight is a high probability option, and merging left is also a high probability option. But driving between the lanes has basically zero probability. Now, we can do this using really powerful tools like generative models. The same kind of tech behind image generators or the large language models everyone's talking about. These models are flexible enough to capture these complex, multi-peaked possibilities. This lets the AI then pick one of the valid actions instead of getting stuck on a useless average.
Awesome, problem solved, right? We've got this great model that won't try to drive down the middle of the highway. But as you might have guessed, AI is never quite that simple. There's a new, much sneakier problem waiting just around the corner.
So picture our new, smarter AI. It's out there driving. It starts in the same place as the expert, and for the most part, it's doing a fantastic job, just mimicking the data it was trained on.
But, no model is ever going to be absolutely perfect. And at some point, it's going to make one tiny, almost unnoticeable error. Maybe it steers just a couple of centimeters off the expert's perfect line. No big deal, right?
Wrong. Because here's the kicker. That tiny little error means the car is now in a situation, a position on the road that is slightly different from anything it has ever seen in its training data. It's gone off distribution. It's basically in uncharted territory.
And when you're in a place you don't recognize, you're way more likely to make another mistake. That second mistake pushes it even further away from what it knows, which leads to a third, even bigger mistake. This is a catastrophic downward spiral called compounding errors, where tiny deviations build on each other until you have total failure.
So how in the world do you fix that? How do you teach an AI not just how to follow a path perfectly, but more importantly, how to recover when it inevitably messes up? The solution is this really clever algorithm called DAGGER, which stands for Dataset Aggregation. And the core idea is beautiful in its simplicity. Instead of just showing the AI the perfect path over and over, you let it make mistakes, and then you show it exactly how to fix them. Okay, so here's how this DAGGER loop actually works. First, you just let your current AI drive.
The moment it makes a mistake and starts to drift, a human expert jumps in and provides the correction, the right steering command to get back on track. Then you take that new piece of data, hey, from this bad spot, here's the right thing to do, and you add it to your original training set. Then you retrain the AI on this bigger, better data set. You just keep repeating this process, and over time, the AI gets more and more robust to its own mistakes.
Now, this all might sound like a bunch of stuff from a university lecture, but these two breakthroughs, learning all the possibilities and correcting your own errors, are the absolute bedrock of the autonomous systems we see today.
And I mean, this isn't just theory. This stuff is being used by the biggest names in the game. You've got Waymo and Wave using these kinds of models for their self-driving cars. And then you have companies like NVIDIA and Figure AI applying these exact same principles to teach humanoid robots how to do super complex jobs in the real world.
So here's the big takeaway. It's this combination of 1, understanding all the possible good moves, not just one average one, and 2, having the ability to recover from mistakes. That's what turns a fragile lab experiment into a system that can actually handle the messiness of the real world.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating final thought. Imitation learning is unbelievably powerful, but it learns from us, our flaws, our bad habits, everything. So if our AI systems are learning by watching humans, the real challenge becomes, how do we make sure they're only imitating the best parts of us? Thanks for watching.